Welcome to the MLMSuccess.com podcast, the show designed to return the network marketing industry to its roots of personal growth, leadership development, and wisdom of the ages success principles. We share with you real success stories from real people that we hope will inspire and encourage you personally and help you progress forward in your business and your life. We believe if you build people, people will build the business. Now here is your host, who has been called the number one mind in network marketing, the MLM Prophet, network marketing virtual mentor, and a host of other names that we will not mention because this is a family show. Frankly, he's just a small town guy that figured out that the real product in network marketing is people. Dale Calvert.
I don't know how much time you guys have had really going behind the scenes and looking at what's going on with the coronavirus and the impact it's going to have on business around the world. But I really felt like it's something I needed to address and share my perspective with our customers, clients, podcast listeners. This will be quite different than most podcast sessions, and I hope it really creates encouragement and thought. A lot of thought and encouragement during these different times that we're all going through. The title of this session is The Opportunity the Coronavirus Provides Us. And I sincerely believe that it provides a unique opportunity, which I'm going to do my very best to communicate in this session. I don't spend a lot of time on social media. As most of you know, I don't watch CNN. So in my mind, the coronavirus was just another swine flu, and quite frankly, the conspiracy theorist in me says maybe it still is. It's quite possible there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than many of us realize, but that's really not the subject or topic for this podcast. To be honest, for me, if March Madness hadn't been canceled, and if there hadn't been a huge sell-off in the stock market on Thursday, I probably would have not paid a lot of attention to what was going on with the coronavirus. I probably wouldn't have taken the time to look behind the scenes and to think about it too much. However, I believe at this point this is extremely significant. Maybe not 9/11 significant, but it's significant because it's going to affect every town and community in the United States and around the world. This is not isolated to big city New York. You know, I was in New York. I was in New York City doing an event 2 weeks before 9/11. And then I was back there a couple of weeks after 9/11 doing the events. And then a couple of years ago, I was there again and doing an event, and I had a chance to visit the memorial. And I can tell you one thing, guys, it made a kid from a little town in Kentucky very proud to see how that city had recovered. And one thing that I do know for sure, that the coronavirus, no matter what challenges it presents, this too shall pass. November 22nd, 1963, John F. Kennedy was shot and killed. Some of you maybe are old enough to remember that. It was my earliest childhood memory. I was 3 years old. I'll never forget my mom picking me up. And the adults of my life, just the turmoil and the sadness and people crying and watching Walter Cronkite on a black and white TV showing the Dallas motorcade over and over. I'll never forget that event. I'll never forget that time. March 22nd, 1987, I was on my way to do an event in Ashland, Kentucky. We had a meeting there that night, and that's when I heard on the radio that the stock market had crashed. I'll never forget that. October 22nd, 1987. September 11th, 2017, most of you can probably remember the time, place, where you were, who you were with when you heard about the attacks on New York. And well, the day that I heard that March Madness was canceled, the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament, and baseball was going to be delayed by at least a couple of weeks, and the NBA basketball season was postponed. The day that I heard all that, the day that the stock market took its biggest hit in a long, long time, since 1987, because of the coronavirus, will that be as significant? For me, personally, probably. But yesterday I was able to catch President Trump's address to the country on the White House lawn with the CEOs of Walmart, Target, CVS, and other huge corporations. And honestly, I remember as I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, the last time I felt this proud to be an American was probably when I had the chance a couple of years ago to be at that 9/11 memorial. I believe we live in a time where each and every American needs to line up their politics for the right reasons. Now's the time to look behind the curtain and line up your politics with your true beliefs. Your true beliefs. There's some very intelligent people that I respect whose politics are just whacked. It makes no logical sense in the real world. None. And, you see it not just in politics, but you see it in the country. You see it everywhere. You see it in this profession. And I think moving forward, it's just time to really get solid in your political beliefs, in all your beliefs, but especially in your political beliefs. I mean, we can all hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and, we've got a better way. And yes, John Lennon was right from the perspective that what the world really needs is more love. And I think that's something we can all agree about. We all need to have more love for our fellow human beings on this planet. That's true. That's absolutely true. But it's not all we need. So John didn't have it all right. It wasn't all we need is love. That's not correct. Because love doesn't build roads. It doesn't pay for police and firemen and school teachers and other public servants. It just doesn't. And, we can put our heads in the cloud and sing songs, but we have to be real with the way it's set up. So the reason I think that I was so proud yesterday watching the president's session, communicating with the nation in the White House garden, was it wasn't just him, it wasn't just the vice president, it was the CEO of major corporations, and it was really a team attack on the virus. And I kept thinking as I was watching it, the acronym for team, together, everyone achieves more. And it's a principle that such an ego-driven business model like the network marketing profession really needs to return to. Together, everyone achieves more. Leaders need to understand that it's your job to challenge your people to dream big and to reach for the stars. And understand, team, together, everyone achieves more. We can do it together. They're not working for you. Real leadership works for their team. Real leadership works for their team. Real leadership works for their team. So it was a proud moment to see these CEOs of major corporations come together with political leaders with one goal, and that was to kick this virus's butt and to win the game. So over the last week, when I've logged on to social media, and I haven't had a chance that often. Most of the coronavirus comments that I saw, I wasn't paying any attention. Again, if the stock market hadn't crashed and March Madness hadn't been canceled, I still wouldn't have been paying any attention to it, because everything I was seeing on social media was around toilet paper. And it's like, I guess that's just indicative of the society in which we live. But what planet does toilet paper have anything to do with this virus? If it was the shortage of hand sanitizer, that makes sense. I get that. But what planet does toilet paper and running out of toilet paper, and there being a run on the toilet paper in grocery stores all over the country, what logic is there behind that, other than the fact that human beings want to follow each other around? And if they're all talking about toilet paper, then I need to talk about toilet paper. And they never stop to stop and think, what value, what purpose does this make sense on any planet whatsoever for people, so many people, to be concerned about running out of toilet paper? It makes no sense. It's just maddening. The minutia. It's maddening, but it's indicative of the world in which we live, and it's very indicative of the network marketing profession. People don't stop, think, take a breath, and really think through what they're doing a lot of times. They just join the crowd, join the tribe. So I understand that uncertainty is scary, and different people handle it different ways, and it seems that many people handle it with humor. But I really believe that if we seek, we will find many opportunities that would have never presented themselves if it had not been for the coronavirus. I know that this too shall pass, but I also understand that this gives us all a chance to stop, think, and the opportunity to maybe pivot or make some empowering changes that maybe we wouldn't have had the opportunity to stop and make if it hadn't been for this time and place in history, because things are going to change. Things are going to slow down. My March is going to be different than any March I've had in my entire life, because March Madness is not 24 hours, 7 days a week basketball. So it's going to be very significant for me, but it's going to be significant for all of us. Honestly, for me, this stopping and thinking and planning phase, this opportunity, I took it in November of last year, 4 months ago. I actually went through this process personally in November, and I think it's been very valuable for me, and I hope that maybe some of you will take the time to go through this process right now, at this point in time on your entrepreneurial journey. You've probably heard me say that I believe your strength is your weakness. I know for me that's the case, and for most people, our strength is our weakness. Poor people assume that all rich people are greedy and hungry, greedy and money hungry. And I would probably agree that that's probably most of them, but it's certainly not all. And rich is a relative term. What's rich in one country is poverty in another, and so on and so forth. So I'm talking in generalities here. But again, it's why I encourage people to look behind the curtain and guard who they give attention and support to. And I encourage you to support those who you receive value from. it's more important than you understand in today's environment when so many people are trying to find logical guidance based upon track records. It's real important. I know there's people that have been listening to this podcast since the day that we started it and have not taken the time, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, to give it a review. And, that's why I try to go out of my way to show people that I appreciate, that they're appreciated, and people that I get value from to take a few minutes here and there and let them know they're appreciated, and to, give them a thumbs up or whatever it might be. But it's sincere and it's well deserved. So the next idea that I want to share with you is something that I think is really important. I hope I can communicate it. It's something I wish I'd understood earlier in my entrepreneurial journey. So we're just going to kind of stop for a second and just wrap your mind around this thought. Some of you have heard me talk about this concept, this part of the concept, and that is that people live in a natural state as it relates to money and income. And that's in the survival mode. They're money focused or they're value focused. So again, if you look at human beings, most human beings are going to fall into one of these three categories: survival focused, money focused, or value focused. And I don't know if it's in their DNA totally. I would ask you, what type of environment were you raised in? Look at your mom. Was she survival focused, money focused, value focused? What about your dad? What about other authority figures in your life? And I've seen it play out different ways for many different people. It's something I've always paid attention to when trying to wrap my mind around who am I working with, where's their foundations here. It's something that I really pay attention to because it helps me get a perspective on how I can communicate and hopefully help that person the very best, is to understand where is their focus regarding, where do they live. And, I could start naming big names of people that that we all know, and you could tell me immediately they're survival focused, they're money focused, they're greedy, they're so money focused. I can't believe they haven't showed up on a session of American Greed's TV show yet. They're so money focused. And then you can tell who's value focused. And there's a lot of value focused creators and educators and authors in the marketplace. A lot of value focus. There's a lot of money focus. And then there's people that we all know that are just survival focused. They've been in survival focus most of their life, and they can't break that mode. So again, I would ask you, what type of environment were you raised in? And then the second concept that I would share with you is, if you've been in a survival focus mode, how do you break out of that? And, I wrote a book about this. It's called Change Your Financial Mindset and Create Wealth. Change your financial mindset and create wealth. Because a lot of people have trouble seeing themselves beyond their limiting beliefs financially that they have about themselves and their abilities and what they're capable of. And until you can see yourself at a different level, it's hard to ever get to that level. Say, well, Dale, what's this have to do with coronavirus? We're getting to it. But see, you can have all the opportunity in the world, but if you don't see yourself achieving that and taking advantage of that opportunity, it's not ever going to happen. So you've got to get your financial mindset right. You have to. And again, that book it's on Amazon. We'll put a link in the description here. It's called Change Your Financial Mindset and Create Wealth. But what I really want you to do is think about the 5 mentors that you have in your life. The 5 mentors. And here's what I have found. If your dominant phase is money focused, you're focused on making the money, getting yours, then probably the 5 people that you listen to the most are money focused as well. If you're a very value focused individual, then probably most of the people that you communicate, that you relate with, are very value focused people. Now, here's what I sincerely believe. I believe your long-term income is in direct proportion to the value that you provide to the market that you serve. I believe that's a law. I believe it's a rule. It's something I live every day by. Your long-term, not your short-term. You can make a lot of short-term. There's a lot of short-term money grab situations, and money-focused people seem to go from short-term money grab to short-term money grab to short-term money grab. But I'm prejudiced about this because I have a true belief that your long-term income is in direct proportion to the value that you provide to the market that you serve. I believe that. And then survival focus is a whole different segment. There's 3 main focuses. Survival focus has a lot of times to do with confidence, limiting beliefs, poor self-image. Survival focused people tend to have been raised in a survival focused environment when they were younger. So I think understanding where you are is real important as we continue to move forward. Now, here's what I believe, and I've talked about this in other podcasts. Money is a greased pig. You can't catch it. It's like a greased pig at the county fair. You know, the kid that catches the grease, they put a bunch of kids in a pen and they put a greased pig in with the kids, and you go around, and if you can catch the pig, then you win a blue ribbon and a $10 bill. Some of you think, what is this guy talking about? Well, you weren't raised in Kentucky. But it's a greased pig. It's almost impossible to catch. My mentor, one of my mentors, Jim Burke, called money an elusive rabbit. And he said, if you stop and develop yourself first, the money flows to you. And that's true. The money will flow to you. You develop yourself first. But here's my main point is when I was building, you know, somebody had sent me a video that I had done, I never had seen, that they had done at an event. And I was talking about you got to keep it on the money when you're recruiting people. Keep it on the money because there are reasons, most of their reasons are going to be fulfilled by increasing their money, by helping them make more money to get out of debt or to do whatever they're wanting to accomplish. And their reasons, you know, most of them stem from money, so you got to keep it on the money. And what my point was, you don't want to get into all the herbs and in the products and you know, give them the vitamin Bible to read. You know, people do things for their own reasons, not yours. And most people, the reason they're doing what they're doing is because they have financial goals. So you have to keep it on the money. Now, I realize for me personally, after you make more money than you ever thought you would ever make the rest of your life, after your reality so far surpasses your expectation, then you tend to go way, way, way the other way. And my natural instinct, it has been my whole life, has been I wanted money because money represented freedom to me. When I had money as a kid, then I didn't have to ask my dad or my mom for money to go buy that pack of baseball cards or do whatever I wanted to do. I always had plenty of money in my pocket, and it represented freedom. So money represents freedom for me. It wasn't money for the sake of having money. So once you make millions of dollars and you travel all over the world and you have all these experiences that it was hard to even comprehend as a child, then for me, and I think for a lot of people, I see this in a lot of people that I respect, then their focus, and see, my focus is, my foundation is value-focused human being. I'm value-focused because my ultimate goal, my ultimate belief is your long-term income is in direct proportion to the value that you provide to the market that you serve. That's my foundation. That's what everything stems from. And so what happens is you'll tend to, which I've done, is you get out of balance to the point where all you're thinking about is the value you provide, and you're not looking at your bottom lines on anything. None of it even matters. It's, are you providing value to the market that you serve? Which ultimately, I think that is a healthy place to be in. But as you get older, and as life evolves, and you have kids, and then you have grandkids, and then everything changes and evolves. Life is it's an evolution, and some of the mindsets that maybe have served you well in the past may not serve you as well in the future, and not that your ultimate foundations will ever change. Mine can't change. Okay, but I've seen people that have been so focused on catching that greased pig, and they've just chased the pig for 50 years, and then they just stop and realize, I'm tired of chasing this money. I just got to stop and they reevaluate, they change, they pivot in their focus, and they say, I got to get better, and maybe they go on major personal development crusade. Or maybe they start figuring out, how can I provide more value to the market that I serve than other people do. And so again, this is all an evolution, but it's something I really wanted to share with you about, because I'm going to share something personal with you. And I realized for me, I'd gotten so tilted, it's like network marketing support services had great growth over the last 5 years or so since we recommitted and started these podcasts, and we've done a lot of things, but it's like you get into a mode where you're hiring more and more people, and you've got it's like, does it make sense to have, if I have no desire to develop a huge training and consulting company, because my lifestyle is not conducive to that. I don't want to be on the road, that much. I've done it. I don't have any desire to do it again. And if I'm as selective as I am, which I am, and I'm very selective, then it's like you're either going forward or you're going backwards, and that's such a hard place to be in, because to grow you need to expand, but there's these gaps, and it's like, we're doing a lot more business, but we're paying more people, we got this going on, we got this expense we didn't have, just to run the business, what you need from hosting and autoresponders and webinar programs, platforms, and so on and so forth. It gets crazy. So we have to all stop sometimes and just ask ourselves, where am I really trying to go with this? Is this really where I want to go? Am I willing to take on that amount of responsibility based upon where I am at this time and place in my life? So for me, in November, it's like I need to get money focused as it relates to network marketing support services, because it really makes no sense. And it's like, okay, Dale, you're getting ready to turn 60 years old. Your life's been a magnificent adventure. So thankful. And knowing everything that you know right now, this is the question I ask myself, and I hope in sharing this with you, it'll help you figure out the perfect question you should be asking yourself right now. And I believe that in this time when the world's kind of stopping and recalculating, it may be the perfect time for you to ask yourself a similar question. So for me, and again, this happened in November, but it says, okay, Dale, knowing what you know right now, understanding, what's most important to you in your life, with the business knowledge that you have, the market awareness that you have, the skills, what is the best move you can make to earn $5 million in the next 5 years? And I realize some of you're not in a position or don't have the background or experience possibly to ask yourself that question. Others of you that are listening are thinking, Dale, 5 million in 5 years, that should be 50 million in 5 years. So I get that. I understand all that. I'm just sharing with you. Again, I'm getting personal. But Dale, what's the move to make 5 million in 5 years? And some of you have heard me talking about, well, I'm not going to go back, but it's all mindset. What the mind can conceive and believe you can achieve, and if you can't conceive it and believe it, then you will never achieve it. So it's what is your stretch question, we'll call it, and what's a stretch question? And I spent 2 weeks asking myself this question every day, thinking about it every day. And I knew there were several different opportunities. And network marketing support services was one of them. But I also knew, for me, the negative was not worth the positive. The amount of time, energy, effort, travel, dealing with opportunity seekers, mentalities. I knew that it was an option, but it was not. There was other options, and there was a path. I knew there was a path. So for 2 weeks, I'm asking myself this over and over, thinking through it. A lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of thought, and I knew in my heart and soul it's not going to be network marketing support services, because I don't like to pitch, promote, and sell to opportunity seekers. There's nothing I enjoy more than supporting business builders and entrepreneurs. Nothing I enjoy more. However, some of you, we've talked people out. Some of you listen to this podcast wanted to, send me $3,000 for 3 hours to help you do something. And there's many of you that listen to this podcast that we talk out of hiring myself as a coach, because you don't need a coach. You need a course first. There's, you can get by with a $39 or $395 course. You don't need one-on-one coaching. And then the people that really could benefit from it the most seem to be sometimes the stingiest. So it's just something that I get no enjoyment from. I love supporting builders and entrepreneurs. However, some of you know, again, we've talked you out of hiring me as a coach because you need a course. Most network marketers are not willing, the masses of network marketers are not willing to invest in themselves. I mean, you guys have all heard it. How many times have you attempted to try to get people to come to a conference and all they can think about is how much it's going to cost them? And it's like, I didn't get in this to spend money. I got in it to make money. Because I know many of you, part of your process is if you're going to join my team, you're going to join the MLM training club. You're going to join the MLM training club. And I appreciate that. And I know that you love them enough to make that part of joining your team. But I understand the blowback from all that sometimes as well. But see, at this point in my life, when I was younger maybe, but at this point I don't have the patience or the time to try to communicate with people that just don't get it. If they don't understand formal education makes you a living, if you become self-educated, you create a fortune based upon the track record of thousands of entrepreneurs that have lived before them. If they don't understand that, then, I mean, how can you really put a price on mentorship? How can you put a price on that? To have somebody that's already walked the walk, went down the road, went down the path, created what you want to create, and they're willing to share their time, energy, effort, and experience, and you want to argue about how much it costs or the value in that, I just don't, and that's more prominent in this profession, this niche, than any I've ever seen or worked in. It just is. So I just don't understand how people can be so ignorant. Smart people that are very ignorant and that don't understand the value, are even worse than that for me, is people that come to me and say, Dale, I spent $10,000 with this guru, or I spent $5,000 with this guru. And it's like, why? What part of their track record would that be a good business decision? And again, I don't want to go down this road, but getting coaching from someone you never vetted is just not a really good idea. That's one reason on this podcast we have so many success stories from our former team members. Because, I mean, there it is. And, I just get tired of some people sending me email, and it's like, Dale, I'm really wanting to join the MLM Training Club, and I'm thinking about joining Guru 1's program or Guru 2's program. Why should I join yours instead? And I don't want to be rude or crude to people, but it's just like, go join theirs. I don't really want you in mine. If you have to ask that question, this one, what we do, is not for you. And I don't say that, but man, I think it. And that's why they don't allow me to pick up the phone at the office or respond to emails to customers, because it's like, I just don't have the tolerance for it. I sincerely don't. So I decided on a financial path that would give me personally the best opportunity to create $5 million in 5 years. It is not working with opportunity seekers, because I just cannot sell them, tell them what they want to hear so I can sell them what they want to sell them. It's not within my ability. It's not part of what I believe has anything to do with the network marketing business model. And I just want people smart enough to understand that they're going to have to get self-educated. Their skill sets, mindsets, they're going to have to learn that they probably don't know yet. And they got to be smart enough to figure out who is it that I should be listening to. So, I have, for 5 years with this podcast and with everything that we do, and people don't get this, but my focus is really as much about running off the wrong people as it is to keep the right people. And I appreciate all you guys that send me an email and say, Dale, if you would just be a little less intense, then you would have so much more people that would get plugged into your stuff. And everything you teach is so good, but you just don't need to be so intense. And I appreciate that. I sincerely appreciate those of you that send me those emails that you're trying to look out for me. But guys, that's not who I am. I believe what I believe. I have major convictions about what I teach, why I teach it. I understand the sequential aspects of this business. I understand what it takes to build teams of people and for people to break out and break through and to get to levels that they never thought possible, at levels that most people haven't even thought about. And I've spent my whole life thinking about it. So anyway, after spending a couple weeks in November, I decided to go on a path the 1st of December. And we've been at it and made major progress laying the groundwork and getting myself self-educated, and really moving forward. And then this Corona hits. But I can tell you that if I had not already made $1 million, I had $1 million years, $3 million years, building network marketing teams, then network marketing would be the answer. Not because it's the greatest opportunity in the history of the world, but because it's the greatest personal development program on the planet. It's because of the challenge. It's the most challenging business opportunity, business niche in the world, because the real product is people. And most people don't even get that when I say that. But, the answer that I came to in November, my answer is not necessarily your answer. Hopefully you already have your answer to that question. Hopefully you've asked yourself that question. So, I'm not going to be talking about it here. Please don't ask me, because this is not about me. It's really about you. And what it's really about is understanding yourself. Many of you have heard me say, to your own self be true. It's about self-awareness. And this is really, really important. So tune back in here if you phased out here. I believe network marketing is the greatest business model in the world. However, today, in the cultures you're going to be exposed to, it's full of people that are stagnant in their entrepreneurial journey. And being stagnant is not acceptable in any business model except in network marketing. And in network marketing, hanging out in a state of stagnation is the norm. Network marketing has really become a huge social club, and it's in a social environment. And, in the real world, in a social environment, we don't question those who become stagnant in their corporate careers. It's like, well, I thought you were a district manager. Didn't you get that promotion 9 years ago? You haven't moved up since then? You're still a district manager? See, in the real world, we don't question people that hit blocks and become stagnant in their corporate careers. It's not politically correct, probably, in the real world. However, in the network marketing business model, if we are not constantly encouraging people to move up and to progress and to reach for the next level and to develop the skill sets and mindsets that will move them forward, and if we accept a culture of being, politically correct and where stagnation is accepted, then it's a recipe for disaster. We create a culture where people aren't challenged. It's not good. Again, for me personally, I guess it goes back to the article that I wrote, back in, I don't even remember what it was, 2000 probably, when I wrote the article that many of you I know have read, and it's entitled Inspire Greatness or Cater to Mediocrity. Because I could see the shift happening back then. And it's like, this is the choice the profession has to make. We can continue to cater to mediocrity, or we can inspire greatness. And I understand nobody likes being challenged. I don't like being challenged. Nobody does. But the right person appreciates it. The right person appreciates someone that cares enough about them to challenge them. And I don't care if we're talking about a personal trainer or a network marketing leader. The people that love you and care enough about you to challenge you and to believe that you can move forward are very valuable in our life. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. When you find people like that, mentors that inspire you and challenge you and keep you on track, make sure that you give them a like, or if you're listening to their daggone podcast, let them know you appreciate it. It's important in today's environment because we have so many people in multiple niches trying to teach people how to do that which they've never done. Not just here, it's everywhere. So I understand that my beliefs are not congruent with the social club cultures that's been created within the network marketing business model. I get that. I get it. It is what it is. I understand people don't like to be challenged. Dale, I'm a triple diamond with a cherry on top of it. Why would you say I need to be doing it this way? And it's like, I don't have time for that. Just the ego around all that. It just drives me crazy. So, again, nobody likes being challenged, but the right people, and that's what I've desperately been looking for. I'm trying to build my world in network marketing support services around the right people, and thankfully we found a lot. But there's others out there we haven't even heard about yet. But it keeps going back to Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn said, "I don't mind a preacher telling me that I'm going to go to hell for my sinful ways, as long as he does it with tears in his eyes." And I do my very best to come across as value-focused and empathetic as I possibly can be, because I've walked this walk personally and with many, many other people, helping them create these breakthroughs and come down this road and grow and learn and get better and continue to strive and not be stagnant. So I understand the paths. I understand the processes. As long as people are continuing to move forward. But most people would rather sit back, suck their thumb, and they have the excuse, if first I don't succeed, then I must fix the blame quick. So everything that I do, every time I do a podcast, I hope I'm coming across from the right standpoint. And I understand if somebody has a really poor self-image and major excuses and limiting beliefs, that listening to me doesn't set well with their psyche. I get that. Over the last 5 years, I've been trying to connect with the right people. I have no interest in joining the MLM social club party. My social life comes from my family, my parents, Dawn's parents, our family, and a tight-knit group of friends, people that we work with on a daily basis, monthly basis. So my 5-year path for me has nothing to do with network marketing or opportunity seekers. I mean, my commitment to the MLM Training Club members, Network Marketing Leadership Development Academy members, Euphoria D&D team members, and our corporate consulting clients has never been stronger. I can't say that strong enough. It has never been stronger, because if you're in my world, then the odds are you're exactly the type of people that I know that I can impact the most if you're in my world. Because again, everything that we've done up to this point with network marketing support services, and will do in the future, has been done not for the reasons most people do it. It's been designed for me to maintain sanity and to help people have the most impact on the growth of their teams and their organizations, and building long term a business with customers and with team members that they're proud of. And I understand any communication that I have with those that are what I call wantrepreneurs. They want to be an entrepreneur, wantrepreneurs. And any communication I have where I talk about personal responsibility, work ethic, mindsets, real customer acquisition, and appreciation, it's challenging and it's not popular. And I get that. So I appreciate all of you send me emails again telling me, Dale, if you weren't so intense, people would like you better, and you would attract so many more people because the methods you teach are phenomenal. And guys, I understand and I agree and I appreciate it. But I have to operate in a way which, number one, I can maintain sanity, and number two, I can help the right people. And I just know what I'm doing. I understand this process, and I have patience. I get it. I understand it. And I get people are looking for the magic funnel. They're looking for the foo-foo dust. They want to know, where's the party? However, that's not a real business. It's a facade used to tell people what they want to hear so self-proclaimed gurus can sell them what they want to sell them. That's all that's going on. The commitment that I've made to a small group of deep-thinking, career-minded network marketing leaders, corporate officers, and company owners is not going to change. It's always going to be there. It always has been there. It's who I am. I can't shake it. I've tried. Because when you look at the big picture, spending time in this market with my belief sets and my convictions makes no sense for me. Network marketing, it appeals and attracts a lot of the lottery ticket playing, how do I get my free Obama phone? And I don't mean anything. Don't take, well, if you'll take it however you want to take it. But it is attracting the wrong people. The market is not the needy and the greedy. The market should always be the career frustrated individual that knows they can do better and wants to do better. And when you bring them in a culture of people that are needy and greedy and full of entitlement, it diminishes the entire opportunity. I'm not capable of telling people what they want to hear just so I can sell them a VIP ticket to my next pitch fest that's disguised as a seminar. But I understand the network marketing business model today is what it is. It just is what it is. I understand that the cheese has been moved. I understand that it's a profession. We did not take care of the goose that was laying the golden eggs, the business model, the companies, and that we've allowed philosophies to enter the profession that make absolutely no sense, to becoming the best business, and these philosophies are now considered best business practices. And all that's happened is, quote unquote leaders have been pitching this stuff so they can earn affiliate commissions, selling blogging platforms and pro lead systems and all these foo-foo dust solutions that promise newbies that they could, be a high-paid network marketing consultant, even if you've never sponsored your first distributor or acquired your first customer. I'll show you how to be a high-paid network marketing consultant. It's just maddening. So instead of teaching people personal accountability and wisdom of the ages principles, it's just totally changed. It's just absolutely gotten totally out of control. So we have an industry that's more focused on developing followers than it is the next generation of leaders. And when a movement gets away from its core fundamentals it was built upon, there's always unintended consequences. If you haven't heard of the webinar Ron Henley and myself did over at MLMhelp.com/critical, I cannot recommend it highly enough. I just can't. MLMhelp.com/critical. When a movement gets away from its foundational principles, there's always unintended consequences. So new people in this profession are experiencing and suffering those consequences because quote-unquote leaders are more focused on keeping them on autoship one more month than they are challenging them to become great and maximize their leadership abilities within themselves. So the negative effects of the coronavirus will have on most network marketing businesses is going to be somewhat neutralized. It's going to be somewhat neutralized, especially for the committed, dedicated, hardworking network marketing distributors, because in general, and you won't mark my words, the population is going to become more open to work-at-home opportunities than at any time in history. Let me say that again. The population, after this coronavirus, and people concerned about, taking public transportation to work or going into big office buildings and being around big crowds and not having social spacing and so on and so forth, the idea of working at home is going to be, people are going to be more open to that than at any time in history after this all blows over. So that plays into the network marketers' wheelhouse. That helps. It helps. It's going to help greatly. It's going to help subconsciously more than we really understand. And, I compare that to friends that I have that operate huge Shopify stores, and their entire business model has been built on drop shipping products from China. So there are thousands of successful drop shipping stores, entrepreneurs whose businesses have been turned upside down because of this coronavirus. I've talked to a couple yesterday, and it's just, there's all kinds of ramifications. So when you sit back and look at this business model, the network marketing business model, I think when it's all said and done, it's going to help. But there's little things that can change that can really drastically affect a business. And again, if you're dependent upon drop shipping from China, it's kind of, this has kind of dropped a bomb on a lot of those businesses. Much like back in 2009 when Google, the first Google slap, and all of a sudden people are gone. They can't be found. And their whole business was dependent upon Google. And now they're gone. They can't be found. And they never learned how to develop real customers, just one-time buyers, because they never understood and were never taught if they buy once they're a suspect, twice they're a prospect, 3 times they were a customer. And they were dependent upon one-time buyers all the time that they got from Google. The Google slap came and their business was gone. And in recent years, the same thing happened with Penguin updates on Google and the Panda updates on Google. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs that put themselves in a situation where, dang it, my cheese moved. Now what do? My cheese is gone. And you cannot put yourself in those type of situations. Similar, the people a few years ago that built their entire teams based on Facebook before Facebook algorithms changed. And the cheese was moved, the algorithms changed, and they had no way, they had developed no other methods to create business, to create prospects, And it just destroyed a lot of people's businesses, a lot of their income. But true leaders will always walk through the challenges that they're faced with. And I believe true leaders will walk through the challenges that are in front of all of us because of this coronavirus in the days to come. So what opportunities does the coronavirus provide you? Everything's going to slow down for a while. It's going to get worse before it gets normal. I didn't say before it gets better. I said before it gets normal. And I could argue that normal is not better. You know, the normal is a lot of the, you know, we can go back to, you know, think before Corona, there was a tremendous amount of political unrest in this country. And I'm hopeful after what I saw yesterday with, you know, I felt like, you know, Democrats, Republicans, corporate CEOs coming together to eradicate this virus was very encouraging for me. It probably was for hopefully a lot of you. But, you know, before, a lot of political unrest, a lot of people living in what I call a quiet state of desperation, which was probably the catalyst for all the irrational behavior. You know, people worrying about daggone toilet paper. You know, so when things return to normal, and they will, then hopefully they'll even be better. And we've all been given an opportunity, as I previously tried to communicate, to just stop, get in touch with what matters the most in our life and our entrepreneurial journeys. And now's the perfect time to rethink our path and pivot if we need to, change who we hang out with and why, eliminate the minutia, and take our focus and our game plan to the next level. This is an unbelievable opportunity like you may not ever have again. So don't take it for granted. In many ways, we've been given an opportunity that would have only happened in this type of terrible situation. You know, my entire winter, as some of you know, my winter, I get through it. I can't stand cold weather. And my winter, the way I get through winter is building towards March Madness. And it's been that way since I was a kid. So this is a time for me to rethink the decisions, you know, some of the decisions I came to in November. And when things do get back to normal, what's the new normal going to look like? And I know that after every economic downturn, you know, the one we had in 2001 and 2008, some amazing businesses came from those times, as there will be from this time. Right now is really a perfect time to just stop, take a breath. And the first thing I would say is examine your wheel. And for those of you that have never heard my Balanced Life or Wheel of Life training, I apologize. But, you know, just briefly, you know, there's basically 7 key areas of life: physical, mental, family, financial, career, spiritual, and social. And those are the 7 key areas. And the most important areas: physical, mental, family, financial, career, spiritual, social. And now's a great time to really look at those 7 key areas of life and say, you know, what can I do to level up here in this area of my life, whatever that is. And again, I've talked about this many times, so you can find somewhere, I'm sure, online or on YouTube. Wheel of Life training is probably there. I really don't know. I've talked about it many times. But now is really the time to take your business, to really take a hard look at your business, ask yourself the right questions, I mean, have you been building a real business, or have you been a social club member? For many network marketers, what they call a business is really just a sometime, not even a part-time, but a sometime hobby. Sometime hobby. It's not a business. Just because you have a business card does not make it a business. And probably the most important question you should ask is not has your business been growing, but have you been growing as a person and as a leader? You know, network marketing support service has grown well over the past 5 years, but that's mostly due to word of mouth from you guys. Most of the corporate contracts and speaking gigs that we will do up to 2 a month, and they all come from you guys talking to your corporate officers about, get this guy in to speak for our group. So I appreciate that because many of you, it's come from this podcast. But the truth is, have you been more focused on you growing as a person, your personal development, and your personal awareness, or have you been focused on the systems and the shortcuts and creating social media followings and funnels and the mechanics of the business? Network marketing is a very social business, but it is a business. A great question to ask yourself right now is, do I really offer the best product or service to the market that I serve? Do I really offer the best product or service? Because your long-term success is in direct proportion to the value you provide to the market that you serve. Do you believe that? That came from Jim Rohn. I believe it. I've lived it. Since the day I heard it, it just slapped me. That's so true. Your long-term success is in direct proportion to the value you provide to the market that you serve. And as it relates to, when I think about the MLM Training Club and the Network Marketing Leadership Development Academy, I 100% believe in what we're doing and how we're doing it and why we're doing it and who we're doing it with. I believe that. I know it. I've walked it. I've done it my whole adult life. So, we are terrible as a company when it comes to social club stuff. In fact, I would argue that we're probably the worst. Okay? Because we are. But some of you have attended some of our events that Dawn and we've done through Network Marketing Support Service that we've done for select groups of inner circle people. And they were done out of appreciation. That was the spirit in which they were done. And the need for us to recognize those that needed to be recognized. And, most people never hear about it because it doesn't matter to me. It's just not a factor for me. It's I want to be with the right people, with the small groups of people that select groups for the right reasons. We didn't let you buy a VIP ticket if you pay an extra couple $100 that would allow you to have, a guaranteed photo op with Dawn and I, and all the other manipulation and ridiculous crap that we see going on in this profession today. It's just unbelievable. So I sincerely believe you keep that what you give away. So again, I ask you, do you offer the very best product or service in the market? And to thy own self be true. You're not talking to a prospect, you're talking to yourself. Quick story, and we're going to end up here. Way back in my younger days, I got in the swimming pool business. I was selling swimming pools for a summer. I thought it would be fun. And I wanted a swimming pool. And so this guy told me, Dale, you got to come. You got to hear this guy. He's the best salesperson. He's an awesome closer. And he owns this company. And he's going to be there for the training. So I went for the training. This guy came in from New York. And it was basically, again, I was young and dumb, didn't know a lot. I understand it now more than I did then. but they were doing these, 5x5 ads in newspapers all over the buying remnant space, in Kentucky newspapers all over small towns, and they were offering this pool with this deck and all this for $997. So people would call in, they'd set the appointment, and then we would go out as reps and sit down at the kitchen table and sell swimming pools. And we had this big elaborate kit and this pitch that we had to memorize. And basically, if you ever see an ad like that, don't answer it. Because I didn't understand what it was called at the time, but it was a bait and switch. So basically, we're going in and we sit down, and it was just fluff. It's like, the first thing you would ask, well, which pool did you call about? Oh, you called about this one, the 997 pool. So you go through, and the whole thing was to lead them up to a pool that sold for $13,200. And so it was a bait and switch. And $13,200, you could go down to $9,000. If you sold it for $9,000, you made $500. Anything you sold it for over $9,000 up to $13,200, you would split it 50-50 with the company. So you could make several $1,000s on a pool. And I just did not feel comfortable with this. It's like, my gosh, this is ridiculous. People calling on $997 pool. We go in, and our focus is to sell them the $13,200 pool. And then we had all these things, all these shenanigans we had to go through, like you go through at some car lots. Well, they go get the manager, so I would have to ask, I was supposed to ask, can I call New York and see if they can do any better on this one? Because I know we have another one that we're going to be setting up, down the road, and go through all this, and then I had to get them on the phone with the closers in New York, and I was not comfortable at all in that environment. And I remember I went out my first week, and I sold 2 for $13,200, and I didn't follow any of the. I didn't call the people in New York or do any of that. I just went in and sold 2 of them for $13,200. And I didn't feel comfortable with that, but I had kids to feed, And then the next one I went out, and I had 2 appointments that next week, and I didn't sell it, and I didn't call New York like I was supposed to. And then the second one I went to, the guy said, nope, I want that one. Nope, I want that one. Nope. He wanted the 997 pool, and I could not get through the press, so I wrote him up for the 997 pool. Well, that night, New York calls me. Did you do this appointment? Yes. Why didn't you call us? Well, the opportunity didn't present. It just didn't work out for me to call. And you actually sold the $997 pool? Yeah. Dale, we don't even have that pool. So what? We don't even make that pool available. We don't even have that. So, first week I made about $4,000. Second week, I'm selling a pool that they're advertising in the newspaper. They don't even make available to the customer, and I sold it, and they can't deliver it. And then they're giving me heck for not calling New York and putting these people on and not trusting my judgment. It wasn't right. And I just had to say, okay, this isn't right. This is not going to work out. And, I had to make a pivot. And the thing that probably made that decision more than anything is because I didn't know anything about swimming pools. And when I was going through my training, I went into my local market and started going and learning about swimming pools. And I came to the conclusion that, for the money, I wouldn't buy this swimming pool for $9,000 or $13,200. As a matter of fact, I know where I can get one for $3,800 that I would rather have, which is, by the way, what I ended up buying. So I can't do this. I had to pivot because I had no belief in what I was doing. And I can go back and I can look at my days at NSA, We had the fastest growing organization in the company. When they were making the switch to, the Juice Plus product, my heart, soul, belief was not there. I had to pivot. I had the fastest growing organization in the country. I was going to make $25,000 a month. If I didn't leave the house, I was making $25,000 a month, but I couldn't do it with conviction. So sometimes you have to pivot, and when you pivot, it's a real emotional challenge. It's very challenging, but sometimes it's necessary to reach your full potential and your ability to communicate with 100% authenticity. I've started to understand that some people have been pitching and promoting and doing it from an unethical, unauthentic place for so long that they can't even begin to understand what authentic communication really is. They continue to resell the lies that they bought. And that's why in anything that you do, anything that you look at, it's so important to pay close attention who you're listening to, what they're teaching you, and you've got to pivot when the time is right. And for some of you, maybe the time is right now, and this is the perfect opportunity to do that. So just to kind of wrap this up, guys, the marketplace, population, the world, it's going to change when we get through this crisis. Some trends that make sense to me that we can be looking for is I think online conferencing is going to boom as doctors turn to telemedicine and schools turn to teleeducation. The values of good online conferencing tools is going to get clearer and clearer, and they're going to become more common in the future. Virtual reality, I think, is going to surge, particularly, businesses that require in-person visits, conferences, museums, even concerts, probably a lot of sporting events. They're going to be losing a lot of revenue over the next, few months, which is likely to inspire some type of virtual alternative. There's a couple of museums in America and China that I've read about that are already using live streaming platforms to take visitors on virtual tours of their museums. So that's you're going to see more and more of that. There's going to be many investment opportunities for sure. On Friday, the stock market came back real strong right in the middle of the presidential address. It was crazy. Had one of the largest daily gains since 1988. And I was kind of shocked by that, but it's like it grew over 1,000 points. The Dow grew over 1,000 points while the presidential address was going on, and it was just crazy. The roaring comeback. It was awesome to see. It was encouraging. I sincerely expected the Dow to fall below 18,000, and I thought it would be a good time at 8. If it fell below 18 or around 18 to pick up a lot of bargains. And there's probably going to still be some volatility during the coming months as we come out of this, but I think there'll be great opportunities in the stock market. Sports cards is something that I've been heavily investing in over the last couple of years. Some of you know that my brother and I had a baseball card and memorabilia shop in the 90s. But that whole baseball card, sports card world has evolved, and I had no idea. So probably a couple years ago, I really got self-educated on that again. because they have a lot of limited product production runs. You've got PSA grading now, where you can have your card professionally graded, which drastically increases the value, especially if it's a limited edition card. So that whole baseball card, a sports card world has changed drastically. I've been buying a lot of Kobe Bryant's over the last year because Kobe, and this was before his death, obviously, and Kobe's getting ready to go in the Hall of Fame this year. So I knew that there would be a bump in his cards for sure once he went in the Hall of Fame. So I've been buying his rookie cards, PS 18 graded. So I think sports cards, it was kind of funny because last Monday, I think, was the biggest, the highest base price for the top 50 sports cards that has ever been. The highest. The base price was high, the highest it's ever been in the history of sports card collecting. I mean, the baseball card, sports card investing has been extremely hot for a couple, 3 years. And then again, after the announcement of no baseball, delay of baseball starting this year, no basketball's suspended, the NBA, no March Madness, then cards plummeted the next day, much like the stock market. And I haven't even had the guts to look and see if they've recovered any yet, but I think there's going to be opportunities there. If you're a sports person like I am, it's something that's worth getting educated on. Real estate is going to be fascinating to see. I mean, here in Atlanta, it's really boomed the last couple, 3 years after being stagnant for many years. The real estate market's really come back with a vengeance here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Network marketing, I believe the work at home buzz, and I remember the first time the work at home buzz hit before anybody even thought about working at home. It's like, what do you mean you work at home? How do you work at home? I mean, that was a great buzz in this profession. Now, it'll never be as strong as it was then because, working at home is not such an oddity as today as it was back then. But I think the whole work at home culture buzz at some level can really benefit network marketing moving forward. For network marketing support services in this podcast, I just have to wait and see. I mean, my commitment and dedication to our corporate clients, individuals, is never going to change. However, my true commitment has always been to entrepreneurs, not a specific network marketing business model. And I've really had to come to grips with a lot of this because I felt a tremendous obligation to the network marketing business model, but not a commitment. My commitment's not to a particular business model. It's to the people. It's to the people we've had the opportunity to serve through this business model. My commitment is to the people, to the entrepreneur-minded people in this country and around the world. So, really, guys, this is the first podcast I've done live since before Christmas. This is the first one I've done since before Christmas because November, I kind of told you what I was going through there, and I've really been debating on whether I should continue it, strictly because, and only because, it doesn't fit my 5-year financial plan. I mean, Opportunity Seekers is not part of my 5-year project here. But since we started this podcast, every time I've wavered, every single time I've wavered, like, Dale, why are you spending time? Why are you doing this? But every time I have it, without exception, somebody's reached out to me that I've never met to tell me how the podcast or one of our courses, has really made an impact for them in their life. And we've had several of these over the last 90 days, one which I'll probably share with you next week because it literally brought tears to my eyes. The lady took the time to actually write a letter and mail it to us. I'll probably share that with you. But, speaking of next week we're going to do an Ask Dale session. And I've had several questions come in that I need to answer and address. If you have a question that you'd like to ask regarding what we've talked about in this session today or anything else, all you have to do is go over to MLMhelp.com. In the top left-hand corner, you'll see an Ask Dale button, and you can just click on that Ask Dale, and you can record your voice and ask your question right there from your computer. And if you have any questions, guys, this week would be a good time to do that. And anything that you wanted, any question, comment, concern, anything I can help you with or support you with, I will. But I sincerely hope that something I've shared with you has created thought and value this week. It'll inspire you to take some time and make the most from this unique time and place in history. And I know things are lining up for some of you to make some quality decisions about your business and your future, and that you will take advantage of this time. And that's my hope, that it's unique, it's different, it's not going to happen normally. And we're in a different place, and it's a good time to just stop, think, reevaluate, recommit, do whatever you need to do to continue to progress and move forward on your entrepreneurial journey. And I hope we've shared something with you, and I've gotten more personal than I normally would. I'm always pretty personal, but I've shared some things that I really debated on whether I should share. But I hope you take everything that I've shared in the spirit in which it was intended. I'm going to leave you with a very encouraging verse that I think hopefully will speak to some of you, because I know some of you have drastic concerns, and I think about the concerns I have, we all have for our family and aging parents and even grandkids, and everybody in between. So I just want to leave you with this, and then we'll talk to you next week. We appreciate you guys more than you know. But the verse is simply this: we are salt and light, and God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and sound mind. That's from 2 Timothy 1:7. You guys have an awesome, awesome week, and we'll talk to you next week on another session of the MLM Success Podcast.
If you haven't gone over to iTunes yet and rated and left this podcast a review, what are you waiting for? At Calvert Marketing Group, we want to spend our time on the projects that we know are providing the most value for our clients and customers. You leaving us a review and feedback on iTunes is something that helps us more than you realize. And more importantly, it helps others like you find us. So if you've not taken the time to rate this podcast, please go over to iTunes and do that for us now. It will only take a couple of minutes out of your busy schedule. Work harder on yourself than you do on your business, and we will be back next week with another inspiring success story, wisdom of the ages training, or answers to your questions.